Hello everyone, I'm a student of Alia University. Today I will discuss about the topic of bricks, which is a part of building materials. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Pritam Roy and my roll number, department and semesters are given there. And I really thankful to Mr. Mohsin Jamal sir because of his guidance I can do the presentation. So I really thankful to him. Ne- Let's see the what is brick. A brick is a type of block used in the building walls, used to build walls, pavements, and other elements in the masonry construction properly. The term brick denotes a block composed of dry clay, but is now also used informally to denote other chemically cured construction blocks. Okay, I rated over there every topics in the written form, so you can see, and I also uh, read the topics also there. So no problem. You can hear and also can see the every slides and every terms over there. Okay. Let's take a look the history of bricks. Okay, the earliest brick were dried brick, meaning that they were formed from clay, bearing, and others or mud and dried, usually in the sun, until they were strong enough for use. The oldest discovered bricks, originally made from shaped mud and dating before 7500 BC. Okay, you can see some pictures over there. I given some pictures over there. It is from Iran, from 20th century craftsmanship, and it's from Poland, and it's from Germany. Okay, now we'll discuss size and shape of brick. Okay, uh, there have two statements uh, I given there. So one is a brick is rectangular in shape and the corners are sharp, the edges are parallel to each other. Okay, the shape you can see the picture is a picture of brick, as you know. So here you can see the edges are sharp and corner are sharp, sorry, and edges also sharp are and parallel to each other. Okay, and parallel to each other and rectangular in shape. Okay, so and that's the first statement. And second is the standard size of common building bricks are 190 into 90 into 90 millimeter and 190 into 90 into 40 millimeter is the raw size, and you can say is without mortar. So if we include the mortar joints, the brick size may be measured as 200 into 100 into 100 millimeter and 200 into 100 into 50 millimeter. Okay, so to, these measurements are with mortar, and these measurements are without mortar. Okay, so you can see the pictures are given there. Okay, next we will see function of brick in construction. Okay, so there have several types of functions of brick in construction. As you can say, bricks are plays very important role in the field of civil engineering construction, as I rated over there. So bricks are used as an alternative of stone in the construction purpose also. Here some main uses of construction bricks are given below. Okay, the points are the uses are given there as a point form. Okay, uh, so let's go through this. Construction of walls of any size. If we want to build a wall, so you can use the bricks. Okay. Construction of floors. We normally use the floors in the floors also bricks. Okay. As a is a very tough material, and you can say very tough material. So we can use is as a floor construction material. Okay. And construction of arches and cornices. We can also use in the construction of arches and cornices. Construction of bricks and retaining walls. In the retaining walls, we can also use the bricks. Okay, over there. Making a khoa. What is khoa? Broken bricks of required size to use as an aggregate in concrete. When we can say when we have shortage of coarse aggregate. When we are making concrete, there have some ingredients there: coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, and concrete cement. Okay, so when we have shortage of coarse aggregate, we can use the broken bricks as a coarse aggregate, because it also have some properties of coarse aggregate. The stones, coarse aggregate, normally we use stones as a coarse aggregate. The similar types of um, properties in the bricks we can see. So we can use the concrete, we can use the bricks as a coarse aggregate, not and not have any problem over there. Okay. So uh, but we cannot use um more percentage there as bricks as a coarse aggregate, but a little more percentage we can use, and there have nothing any problem there. Okay. So next is manufacture of shurki. Shurki, what is shurki? What it is a powdered brick. We crushes the bricks and create a powder form. It's used in the lime plaster and lime concrete. When we create a lime concrete or a lime plaster for painting or using plastering the walls and some other things, we can use the powdered form of bricks also there. Okay. And these are the total functions of brick in the constructions. Others some others also some uses are have there, but I only given some main uses of construction bricks. So you can see these are the main uses are. Okay. I gave some pictures over there. You can see, the pictures. Okay. Next is composition of clay brick. There are 6 major ingredients in brick. The general percentage of these ingredients in bricks is given below. Okay. There is some ingredients: silica, alumina, iron oxide, magnesia, lime, organimeters. Uh, their respective percentages are given there. Like silica 55%, alumina 30%, iron oxide 8%, magnesia 5%, lime and organimeter 1%. Uh, here. Okay. So these are the ingredients. By these ingredients, uh, we can make bricks, clay bricks. Okay. Next is harmful ingredients in clay. There have some harmful ingredients in clay which we have to avoid. So the following ingredients in bricks are undesirable as they have an adverse effect on the quality of brick. Okay. These are the ingredients like pebbles, vegetation and organic alkalis, lime. These are the ingredients which makes brick quality of brick weaker. Okay. So we have to avoid these ingredients. Purpose. What is purpose? Purpose. There I given their um, pictures of bubbles. Okay, bubbles are nothing but the presence of bubbles of grid pavements, the uniform and through mixing of clay, it produces weak and porous brick. Bubbles are nothing but these are the small small size or small size stones which are likely to be rounded types, and these are a grid uh, stones, you can say grids. These are the these creates the bricks weak and porous. Okay, so we have to avoid these bubbles. Okay, next is vegetation and organic matter. Vegetation and organic matter, I given some pictures like this. When the harmful effect of vegetation or organic matters is, if these are present in brick earth, gas is released during the burning of brick. Okay, it results in porous and weak bricks. The same types of uh, harmful effect of vegetation. Uh, it create after the burning of bricks. When we burn vegetation and organic matters, they create or they release some gases, and they also get burned. So they create a void and create and release gases. So they are create a porous and weaker bricks. Okay, they create some porousness, and this porousness create weak bricks. Okay, so we have to avoid the vegetation organic matters also. So next is alkalis. Alkalis is nothing but sulfate of calcium, sodium and potassium are harmful alkalis. Okay, uh, this type of alkalis, sulfate of calcium, sodium and potassium, these are the harmful alkalis. They lead to twisting and warping of bricks. Okay, they create the twisting and warping in the bricks. They absorb moisture from the atmosphere and create dampness. When you are making bricks or you were using some ratio of water, so when they are absorb moisture from the atmosphere, the moisture content gets higher. So they give some harmful effects. So when alkali is evaporated, when they are evaporated, gray or white patches appear on the bricks walls. Okay, so we have to avoid these effects in the alkalis. Okay, next is lime. If lime is present in the form of slams, it slacks afterward and breaks the brick. When lime present in the higher form, we have uh, lime present in the form of slums, it slacks afterward and breaks the brick. Okay, so that's the effect of these things of harmful ingredients in the clay. Now let's talk about the properties and functions of different compositions like silica, alumina, lime, etc., and others also. These compositions. Okay, so silica, it is exist in the free or combined form. Sand is a free form of silica, while it exists in combined form with alumina. Okay, so functions. The presence of silica in brick prevent cracking and warping. Excess of silica makes the brick brittle and porous. So uh, the presence of silica makes prevent cracking. It's prevent cracking of uh, concrete, of bricks. Okay, and excess of it create a brick brittle and porous. Okay, alumina. Next is alumina. Alumina is a compound of aluminium oxide occurring naturally with earth. Functions: it gives plasticity to the earth so that molding is possible. It gives plasticity to earth, which material we are using for the uh, brick purpose, brick making purpose, is so that molding is possible. Is gives plasticity. Okay. Excess of aluminium makes raw bricks shrink and warp during drying and burning. Okay. Excess of it is create these things. Okay. Next is lime. In the presence of lime, sand fuses slightly and works as a hard cementing material. For the presence of lime, sand fuses slightly and uh, fuses its gear fuses heat produced and work as a hard cementing material, create hardness. So excess of lime makes the bricks melt and lost shape. Okay, so these are the points. Next is properties of good building bricks. Okay, we have to see. Uh, we have to uh, uh, we have to remember some conditions for the making of good building brick, and these properties should have in the bricks. Okay, let's see the one is bricks should be uniform in color, size, and shape. Standard size of bricks should be maintained, as I said before, 190 into 90 into 90 or 190 into 90 into 40, as without mortar. Okay. Second is they should be sound and compact. They should be sound, change in volume, and compact also. They, they should be compacted. Okay. And third is they should be free from cracks and other flaws such as air bubbles, stone, noodles, etc. Okay. With sharp and square edges. Okay. Next is bricks should not absorb more than 1/5 of their own weight of water. 1/5 or 20%, 20% of their weight should not be uh, um, absorbed greater than the 20%. Okay, in water for 24 hours. In the 24 hours. Okay. Next is the compressive strength of bricks should be in range of 2000 to 5000 psi or 15 to 35 megapascal. Okay, the compressive strength of bricks should be 15 to 35 megapascal. Next is salt attack hampers the durability of brick. The presence of excess suitable salt in brick also causes efflorescence. Okay, so the presence of soluble salt, these are sulfate of calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium, should not exceed 2.5% in the burnt brick. Okay, we have to maintain these conditions because it hampers durability of brick. Next is bricks should not change in volume when weighted. When weighted, they should not change in volume. Next is bricks should neither overburn or underburn. Okay, the bricks should be uh, neither overburnt and nor underburnt. We have to remember. We have to remember these conditions. Okay, for good building bricks. Next is manufacturing of brick. Okay, there have several types of stages. Several stages. Okay, we have to maintain these stages. So let's see. The process of manufacturing of bricks is carried out in a number of stages. These are listed below. Each stage has its own specific importance. Okay. Stage 1 is selection of the suitable type of brick earth. Second is preparation and tempering of mud. Third is shaping or molding of brick units. Stage 4 is drying of molded bricks. Fifth stage is cooling and burning of bricks. Okay. Stage 1 is selection of the suitable type of brick earth. Good quality building brick cannot be made from every type or any type of earth or soil. So we cannot use any type of or every type of earth or soil for the purpose of building bricks. So we have to find out particular type of earth. Okay. As a general statement, it um, may be said that any soil or earth which contains 4 parts of clay and 1 part of sand is suitable for making bricks. This means 20% should be sand in the clay. Okay. This is, however, a general statement, and suitable earth should have various constituents in the following proportions. Okay. First things is alumina. Okay. It's a very important things. All clays are basically hydrous alumina silicates. Clays are responsible for the plastic character for the mud. Clays are responsible for the plastic character of the mud. So if they are present in higher proportions, the brick will be shrink and drying and develop cracks. So alumina should not be exist proportion that this can create shrinkage and develop cracks. Okay, if they are present in smaller proportion, the brick will not be molded easily and nicely. So if less proportion there, the brick will not be molded easily and nicely. So we have to maintain the proportions. The above percentage of alumina is 20 to 30% imparts the bricks sufficient plasticity. So if we want sufficient plasticity, we have to maintain the percentage 20 to 30% is needed for this sufficient plasticity, neither more neither less. If uh, they are more, they create shrinkage and develop cracks, and if less proportion, they cannot be molded easily and nicely. Okay, we have to maintain the proportions 20 to 30%. Next is silica. Okay, next is silica. Let's see the what's about that. This is present in two forms. Silica present in two forms in the clay. The silica combined as a constituent of clay, and the free silica sand or quartz. The total proportion of silica should form about 50 to 60%. It is why the actual clay content and free sand content has to be broadly in the ratio of 4:1 in the good brick earth. So percentage the percentage of silica in the clay is 50 to 60%. Okay. In the uh, uh, when actual form is actual earth, we seen that uh, the proportion of sand and clay uh, in the earth is 4:1. Okay, when this 4:1 is present, 4:1 is maintaining, the silica content should be 50 to 60%. Okay, we have to see this. So silica is responsible for the strength, hardness, and resistance to shrinkage and shape of the brick. So what's the work of silica in the bricks? We can say that strength, hardness, and the resistance to the shrinkage and shape of the brick. Okay, and also to a great extent for its durability and long life. It gives durability and long life to the brick. Okay, so we can see silica is a very important thing for the brick construction and in the earth, which we are using for the making of brick. Okay, which we are using making of brick. The silica and alumina is very important things. So what about some important things also have there. Um so what is this? Uh, but if we add too much free sand in the brick earth, and thereby rises the proportion of total silica in the earth. Resulting bricks would be very brittle and porous and may not burn easily. Okay, these are the very important things we have to know. We see their condition, the conditions in here. These are when here said that when we use 50 to 60% silica in the brick, when the proportion is maintained 4:1 clay and sand proportion when maintained, then we can use 50 to 60% silica in the clay. Okay, but if uh, there have uh, this proportion are not maintained, when this proportion is not maintained, like more percentage of sand in the earth uh, compared to uh, the proportions given there. If there have oh, we we know that the percentage is 20% for the sand, but if greater than 20%, too much what said there here, add too much free sand. If they have too much free percent, means greater than 20%, the breaker thereby rises proportion of total silica. If they have already um, greater than 20% sand, and we are using silica in the higher proportion, then this silica will makes the brick the brittle and porous, and it may not burn easily. We have to see this. Okay, we have to know this, and we have to maintain these things for the in the making process of uh, brick. Okay, so these are the very important things we have to know. You can note it is this. Okay, let's see the next. Next is lime where given is 4%. Okay, you can see this 4%. This component makes burning and hardening of brick quicker, and therefore this considered desirable with following two conditions. So uh, this component makes burning and hardening of bricks. This component makes burning and hardening of bricks quicker, and therefore is considered desirable with following two conditions. Let's say the conditions. A. It would not be more than 4%. Should not be more than 4%. Okay, should not be more than 4%. Should not be more than 4%, because in that case, it may causes excessive softening of bricks and heating. Lime and magnesia act as a flux. Uh, Excessive softening and bricks on heating. So we have to maintain that, we have to see that there have not greater than 4% line. If they are greater than 4% line, it may causes excessive softening of bricks on the heating. In the heating uh, by the lime and magnesia acts as a flux. Okay, we have to maintain these things. Let's see the B number condition. It must be present only in a finely powdered and thoroughly dispersed form. Okay, we cannot use as a um, bigger size. Okay, we have to use only in the finely powdered and thoroughly dispersed form. What about if we cannot maintain these things? They are said that otherwise it presents in a small grains and noodles the lime itself will get slacked or heated, and once its brick is used, it will easily get hydrated and causes disintegration of bricks. Disintegration ingradation gradation of bricks and causes disintegration, sorry, uh, forget about it. It causes disintegration of brick. It cannot integrate it with the brick. It will stay separately, and it will not uh, create a reaction with the others properties. Okay, we have to maintain this. It should be smaller size. And magnesia, which is inversely associated with lime, also has a similar effect. It is their total percentage which must be considered while determining the composition of brick earth. Okay, we have to see this. Okay, next next is iron oxide, which is 4 to 6%. Okay, 4 to 6%. Lime oxides, like oxides of calcium and magnesium, iron oxide also act as a flux. It's like calcium and magnesium. Okay, that is, it lowers down the softening temperature of silica. Okay, the iron oxide has, in addition, another important function. It imparts the red color to the brick. The reddish color we normally see the brick color reddish is from the iron oxide, because of iron oxide. Okay, the excess of this oxide will make the bricks too soft during burning, where there is a risk of deformation, besides making them darker in appearance. Okay, excess of this iron oxide is become darker after the burning. Okay, so we have to maintain the ratio or percentage, you can say. A shortage of iron oxide in the earth will affect the final color of the brick. Instead of being brick red, they may be yellow or light red. The shortage percentage of iron oxide can become yellow or light red. Okay, the yellow color may also can be due to incomplete burning. Also, it's an possibility. Uh, Yellow color is possibility for the incomplete burning. It can be possible. Okay. Besides the above desired essential constituent of good brick earth, there are some materials which should not be present in the good quality brick earth at all, even in a small percentage. Okay. They are listed below with their harmful effects. Okay. Lime noodles, organic matter, sulfite and sulfate. These are the things I have there. Okay. What's in lime noodles? What's the harmful effect on lime noodles? Free lime noodles will hinder in proper burning. They will also adversely affect the quality of fine bricks. What's about organic matter? This includes roots of grasses, leaves, and other vegetables matters, such as matter will affect the quality of brick if left incompletely burned during the process. We have seen these things before also. We have to mm, we know already. So let's talk about the sulfite and sulfates. Iron sulfide in the form of pyrites and alkalis in the form of potash and soda are some other common impurities present in the many solid soils. Okay, we have to avoid this. The effect of iron sulfide is the create disintegration or cracking in the brick during the burning stages. Okay, we have to uh, remember that. Okay. In the case of alkalis, besides their pronounced flux action similar to lime and magnesia, they will liable to stay back in the final brick. Okay, they are liable to stay back in the final brick. When such a brick is used in a building, the alkalis absorb moisture from the atmosphere very easily. Okay, they get dissolved into it when this water is evaporated from the surface. They reappear in the form of scum or incrustation or patches of white salt. Okay, the phenomenon is called efflorescence. The white patches, white salt or patches of white salt, these scum types incrustation, these phenomenon called efflorescence is a common cause of disfiguration of such brickwork made from the alkaline soil. Okay, we have to remember. Remember the harmful effects. Uh, Summarizing the ideal composition of good brick earth. Okay, we are the summarizing. Clay 20 to 30%, silica total free and combined 50 to 60%, uh, CO magnesium oxide, calcium oxide 4 to 5%, iron oxide 4 to 6%. The earth should be free from alkalis, organic matter, free lime and organic matters as far as possible. Okay. So the above is the first step to of bricks manufacturing. It was first step. The composition properly, the harmful effect should not be there. So these are the functions we have to maintain. Mm, okay, you can see some one pictures I gave here. You can see this. Next, uh, there are some important things for the manufacturing purpose. Field test of brick earth. Before using the earth, we have to test. We should test the brick earth, so that this will gives us the uh, best result. So we have to test it. We have to test the brick earth. Okay. There are some testers consistency tests and others test. Next will you will see. So let's see this. When a major brick making unit is to be established, it is always advisable advisable to go a through survey of the brick earth deposits. They will include mapping and their area and volume and carrying out their chemical analysis. The first step will assure the total quantity of brick earth available, and the second is quality. I will read this very quickly. I will is very easy in very easy language you can understand. Okay, test for the consistency of soil. Small balls are made from the soil by mixing with quantity appropriate quantity of sand and water. These balls are allowed to dry in a shaded place. When completely dry, they are studied for any deformation in their size and shape and appearance of cracks. When the soil is of a suitable type, the balls should show no cracks or sinkage effect. Okay. If sinkage effects are observed, new balls are made by adding more clay or more sand or adjusting quantities of water. Okay. This is done to see if the soil properties can be improved by the adjusting the main component clay, sand and water. Okay. By trials, a right proportion of the constituents may be found which will make a good quality of earth for the manufacturing of bricks. In case all trials give same negative result, then the cycles are not suitable for the manufacturing of bricks. Then this clay. Next, test for the determining molding properties. This test is usually carried out on the soil that has passed the first consistency test. The soil is kneaded very thoroughly in the presence of some additional quantity of water. A homogeneous mud is thus made ready from this mud. Thin threads about 3 to 4 millimeter thick are made by rolling between the palms of two hands. If thin thread can be rolled and these do not break on acquiring good length, it shows the clay is of good plastic nature. Otherwise, threads will break on rolling to small thickness. Okay. From the mud so prepared, test bricks are made and allowed to dry. If their corners and edges are well formed, the soil is assumed to possess satisfactorily molding properties. Okay. Such shapes must be retained by the test bricks even on the drying. Test to determining deformation of on burning. Okay, deformation on burning. Presence of flux in the greater or lesser proportion cannot be tested by the first two test. So it is essential to subject the bricks made from above soil to burning test. Okay. Such bricks should be, of course, properly dried before doing so. These dried test bricks are burnt in a potter's kiln for 3 to 5 days. We have to maintain these things 3 to 5 days in kiln. Okay. For the laboratory testing, the test specimens are subjected to routine testing in a well-equipped civil engineering laboratory, and for compressive strength, bending strength, and water absorption. These are the main things there we have to test in the laboratory. We've seen the field test and laboratory test also same importance there. Preparation and tempering of mud. The stage 2. Okay, stages are very important. A series of steps are necessary before the earth is ready for molding of bricks. The area selected for the brick earth is first cleaned and unsoiled at the top. This is necessary to remove most of the undesirable topsoil, which is always rich in pebbles and organic matters. From this cleared area, brick earth is obtained by these things: surface digging, mechanical excavation, and other things we will see next. Let's see the surface digging. By using hand tool, this is the most common method followed in most countries. Okay. Mechanical excavation. By using heavy machines called excavator, this method is applied to large-scale mechanized brick making, and especially when the earth is hard and compacted. After the removal of soil, the clay is spread in heap and layers over the ground for weathering or seasoning. During this period, it is also cleared for any pebbles, stones, and lime noodles. Moreover, any clay lumps are broken into a fine powder so that a uniform size seasoned earth is prepared. Okay. It is at this stage of seasoning and weathering that any additional component, sand or clay, is mixed with the brick earth to alter its composition to any desired degree. The seasoned clay is said to be ready for conversion to mud by mixing with appropriate quantities of clean water. These operations of selecting the earth, clearing and digging it, spreading for the weathering are together called a winning of clay. Okay, let's do the tempering. Tempering means converting of the prepared brick into brick earth into a homogeneous mix of desired plasticity by mixing it thoroughly with proper quantities of water. Okay, here's the tempering meaning. Okay, this is done either by manual labor or with the help, especially designed mechanical device called pug mill. Pug mill also we can use. In manual tempering, the clay is thoroughly kneaded under feet of either men or cattle, with gradual additions of water till desired homogeneity uh, and plasticity are obtained. Okay, let's see the next stage is stage 3, molding of bricks. Molding of bricks. Okay, so let's see what is the molding of bricks. Molding is the process of making properly shaped brick unit from the thoroughly tempered clay, and there are two main methods of molding. One is hand molding and second is machine molding. Okay, hand molding, when the job is done by the skilled persons, we can use when we there have skilled persons, we can use hand molding. But many times many times we are using machine moldings, which is very clear and very perfect, we can say. When specially designed machines are used for molding of bricks. Okay, it is the most countries even today the most common method of molding of bricks are hand molding. Uh, in the advanced countries, however, mechanized brick making is the main process for large-scale manufacture of bricks. For large-scale manufacture of bricks, we can use machine molding because it is very expensive. Hand molding of brick. In hand molding, of quality of tempered clay is invariable soft so that it can be molded into the required shape conventionally. Okay. The mud contains more water, 80 to 25% by weight, than what is used when the machine molding is to be done. It is for this reason that this method is something referred as soft mud process. Bricks are shaped from such a soft mud by hand, either on a specially prepared grounded called ground molding, or on special table called table molding. Okay, these are the things, ground molding and table molding. It is not too much tough. We can understand by the uh, names also. Okay, let's see the tools. The essential tools used for the hand molding process are a brick mold, cutting wire and stick, wooden plates called plates, and stock board. The mold is made either of wood or steel. Okay, what two things we can use, wood and steel, wood or steel. Okay, is inside dimensions are slightly bigger, about 1/10 than the desired dimension of dry brick, because bricks will shrink and drying due to loss of moisture. You know about that. So types of hand molding of bricks. Ground molding. It presents in the most common method of molding of bricks in the most countries. In the process of piece of land, uh, the ground is first cleaned and then thoroughly leveled and often made smooth by plastering. Some sand is sprinkled uniformly over it to make it non-sticky. There are the two variations of ground molding, hand molding and machine molding. The picture I given here, you can see. Okay. For making ordinary rough faced bricks without any frog or identification mark on them. What is the frog? You can question to me. Frog is nothing but the design we use in the top surface of a brick. Okay, There's, several types of design there. It is have the reason behind this. There have there have a reason behind this, because when we are using gap under the brick, it uh, when we mold, when we use mortar over there, it it uh, it it get sticky. It get sticky, and it will not sleep over there. Okay, it holds the mortars strongly. Okay, holds the mortar strongly. For this purpose, we use the frog using is necessary. Okay, frog using is necessary. The mold is either dipped in water, slow molding, or some sand is sprinkled on its inside surfaces is sand molding. This step is necessary to avoid sticking of the mud to the sides of the mold. Then the mold is placed in the ground. Okay. A lump of mud is dashed into the mold by hand. Care is taken to see that mud reaches the edges and corners of the mold. Okay. Yes, there's several things are given there. You can see identification marks and other things. Let's see the next slides. For making smooth-sided frog brick. Okay, this requires a stockboard and plates. This stockboard has a raised projection 6 millimeter carrying impressions and marks of the manufacturer covered out in it. The molding of bricks using this stockboard. The mold is as usual either first dipped into a bucket of water. Some sand is sprinkled on its inner sides. Sand molding. Okay. Table molding. What is the table molding? We see the hand molding. Let's see the table molding. It is also a type of hand molding method. We see ground molding and now we'll say table molding. The molder carries out all the operations by plate and molding and table suitable dimensions and while it in a standing position. Such a table is larger enough to accommodate all the material required in the hand molding, namely stockboard and mold, cutting edge bucket full of water and sand and supply of tempered mud. Okay. The process is similar to the plate molding and on the ground. Okay. Machine molding. In advanced countries, machine molding is an essential part of mechanized brick making plants. They both cheaper in the long run and gives bricks of uniformly good quality. Okay. There are two broad type of process used in the machine molding. First, deep mud process, and second is dry press process. Okay. What's this deep mud process? The clay is mixed with only a small quantities 8 to 12% of water during tempering so that it is quite stiff in consistency. This stiff mix is then made to pass out under pressure from a molding machine. Two variations of molding machines used in the stiff mud process. The first type of molding machine consists of feeding chamber provided with a worm gear to apply pressure. It has a hopper at the top to receive the clay mix. On the front narrow end there is mixed a die of thickness and height of a brick. It is provided with a conveyor belt on a set of rollers and cutting wires adjust in front of die. For operating this machine, properly tempered stiff clay is fed into a chamber through the hopper. It is then forced forward using the worm gear. Okay. Under the pressure of clay comes out through the dia in the form of continuous rectangular ribbon having the height and the width of the brick. It is then cut into bricks length. Okay. This is plant picture I given. Some important things I written. Dry press process. It is the yet another common method for molding of bricks of mechanized brick manufacturing of making plants. It is the method. Only a very small quantity of water is added for finely crushed and thoroughly cleaned clay. So the resulting clay mix is not a plastic and stiff mud but just damp enough to take a shape under pressure. Such damp clay is fed through hopper to special brick mold. Stage drying. Stage 4 is drying of bricks. After molding, the green bricks have to be dried. This is necessary for three reasons. Firstly, to make them strong enough for rough handling during subsequent stages, as for example, for stacking, etc. Secondly, to allow a slow loss moisture from the brick without disintegrating the unit. If a green brick is put to directly burning in a lane, the rate of loss of moisture will be fast that brick will crack during the burning process. Okay. Thirdly, to save fuel during the burning stack, a, a brick containing 20% moisture will require more fuel to burn complete compared to the brick containing only 2 to 4% moisture. Okay. Drying of bricks is achieved either by natural method or by artificial method. Next is, in the natural drying method there are two distinct stages. One is pre-stacking stage, second is stacking stage. What is the pre-stacking stage? Where the molded bricks are first laid edgewise, sidewise and the flat for 2 to 3 days so that they become hard enough to handle without losing shape or breaking. Okay, 2 to 3 days we use in here. And next is stacking stage, in which the hard bricks from the first stage are arranged in well-made layers, one layer above another. Okay. The artificial drying. This method becomes essential in mechanized bricks making plants. It is only by this method that the drying of bricks can be ensured throughout the year independent of weather conditions. Artificial drying may be done either in specially designed chamber or in tunnels. Okay. In the chamber drying, bricks are arranged in stack with sufficient spaces in between them for free circulation of air. Hot air under the controlled conditions of temperature and humidity is made to circulate through the stack for 2 to 3 days or more. The dried bricks are then taken out and next batch loaded in the chamber. In the tunnel dryers, the brick stack are made on vehicles that travel on rails within a drying tunnel. The tunnel is divided into the compartments, and the stack-loaded vehicles is made to enter from one end, stay in each compartment for a prefixed time, and come out for the other end. Okay. Next, next is use of sun-dried dried bricks. Okay, the sun-dried bricks, also called ADOB, are poor man's adobe, are poor man's construction material even during the present time in many countries of the world. These bricks, when protected from rain, are strong and durable enough to sustain load of small unit in villages. Sun-dried bricks in the pictures in here are given. Next is stage 5, cooling and burning of bricks. This is also very important stage. Okay, and you can say last stage. This stage of manufacturing of bricks is absolutely essential to develop in them the desired building properties such as sufficient strength, hardness, durability, and resistance to decay and disintegration. What is their strength, hardness, durability, and resistance to decay and disintegration? Okay. Okay. Next is, at least three chemical changes are known to take place in the briquette during the burning process: dehydration, oxidation, and vitrification. These are the important things we will discuss later about this. Okay, let's see. Let's see this dehydration. What is dehydration? It is completed within the temperature range of 425 to 750 degrees Celsius. Bricks heated to this temperature lose all the free water and most of water of crystallization. Okay, we have to reduce the water content. It is the dehydration process. Oxidation. What's the oxidation? It is also start within the above range of temperature and is completed at about 900 degrees Celsius. All the organic matter in the brick earth gets oxidized. Carbon and sulfur are eliminated as oxides. The fluxes, lime, magnesia, and iron, also become reactive at this temperature. The brick acquires the red color due to oxidation of rain in the clays. Okay, you have to add oxygen. So this is the oxidation process. Vitrification. What is the vitrification? It is it is the extreme reaction that takes place from 900 degrees Celsius to 1100 degrees Celsius or so. The constituent of brick clay, that is alumina and clay, starts softening in the presence of fluxes and getting bound together firmly. Okay. In fact, this is the change which makes a brick strong and hard unit. But when the brick is heated to the extreme temperature of vitrification, the fluxes may actually causes considerable softening of the essential components of the brick earth. Okay, at that stage, the brick may also may lose even its original shape and get distorted at edges and corners. Hence, ordinary building bricks are not heated to very high vitrifying temperatures. Okay, cooling is the stage of manufacturing of bricks. The burnt bricks are placed for some time to be cooled before using it in the construction. Okay, here the whole process of manufacturing of brick. Next is classification of bricks. Okay, let's see what's the classification was have there. Okay, there are two main types of bricks. One is unburned and second is burned. Okay, so what is unburned? These bricks are dried tough sunlight. It's also called sun-dried bricks. They have very low strength as compared to other type of brick. Okay, it is believed that first time bricks were used in sun-dried from unburned brick in Egypt some 6,000 years ago. Next is burnt brick. The bricks which are used to commonly in today's age are burnt brick. They are prepared and burned in a kiln. They have high strength as compared to unburned brick. They are further classified into the following categories. First class brick. These are the from burnt brick. Okay. First class brick. These are 19 to 9 into 9 centimeter in size. They are made from good earth, free from saline deposits. They should be thoroughly burned. Okay. They should of good color. They should be of regular shape with square edges and parallel faces. These bricks are free from flaws, cracks, chips, stones, etc. They should give a ringing sound when two bricks are stuck together. Okay. Its compressive strength shall not be less than 140 kg per centimeter square, and they shall not absorb more than 20% of the water when immersed in water for 24 hours. These are they all have excellent type of properties which we need for to be good brick. Okay, the excellent for all types of construction in the exterior walls. They are also suitable for flooring. Okay, here they use first class brick. Next is second class brick. Second class bricks are also fully burned and give a clear ringing sound when stuck together. Slightly irregularities in shape, size, and color are accepted. Okay. Its compressive strength shall not be less than 70 kg per centimeter square, and absorb value should not be greater than 22% when soaked after 24 hours in the water. Slight difference in the structure on fractured surfaces is admissible. Okay, use. What is the use of that? Of this for exterior work when plastering is to be done, and can also be used for interior works, but they may not be used for flooring. Okay, they we cannot use for the flooring purpose. Okay, same like it. Third class brick. These are not burned so fully as in previous two cases, but are generally of uniformly reddish yellow color. Defects in uniformity or shape are tolerated. On together, sticking together, they produce a dull thud sound. Its compressive strength lies between 35 to 70 kg per centimeter square and absorb between 22 to 25%. Okay. Use where we can use this type of brick. They are used mostly in the ordinary type of construction and in dry situations. Next is fourth class brick. Okay. These type of bricks are irregular in shape and dark in the color, which is due to overburning. They are quite strong in compressive strength, generally above 150 kg per centimeter square, and low in porosity and absorption. Use where we can use these types of brick. Deposit their high strength. This type of brick are unfit for use in building construction. This is because of their distorted shape and irregular size. Okay. They are, however, very commonly used in the broken form in road construction and foundation and floor as a core segregate material. Okay, it you can say core. You can see the pictures of types of first class brick, second class brick, third class brick, fourth class brick. It's overburnt, irregular size and shape. Next is this classification of bricks based on modification in shape. Different types of shape over the different types of shape we are classified in the bricks also. In construction there are positions where a perfect rectangular shaped brick will not be suitable. It has to be modified. Such bricks are required in the plinth, the corner of these walls and at the copings. This is a long list of such special shaped brick. We will discuss the important ones here. We only discuss only important ones here. Squint brick. They are cut on one corner at an angle of other than 90 degrees. They are required for giving shape to an exterior or interior corner in a wall. Okay. We, I will give you some pictures next. Okay. Uh, let's say see the splay or can brick. These have a level of portion taken up with size lengthwise or in both directions. The various shapes grouped under splay brick are made for use in jumps of doors and windows and also in plinth. Okay, next is the scooping brick. They are used for cooping on walls in order to give them a nice appearance and also for easy drainage of water. When a coping is to be provided to a wall, a special shape may be desired. The chamfered, the half round, and the saddleback bricks are some common coping bricks. Next is bullnose. Bullnose bricks are used at turns of the wall so that round corners are obtained. It is a standard brick having one edge rounded. Okay, I will show you next some pictures in next slide. Okay, cow nose. It is a similar of bull nose, but it has both edges rounded on one side. It may also be called double bull nose bricks. Okay, they have the same use as bull nose, but they just give additional roundness. Okay. You can see the pictures here. Its squint dip is cutting edge here, and laces splay and canbrick in round shape. Right? Cooping brick, some Cadbury size, you can say. and bull nose is rounded figure one side rounded figure, you can see, and cow nose is both side rounded figure. Next. Next is classification of bricks based on cavities. Okay. Classification of bricks based on cavities. Three types of bricks shall be discussed under this category. Here is one perforated bricks. Uh, rest two we will discuss next slide next slide. Okay. Perforated bricks. These form a modern class of building bricks that have many advantages over the ordinary solid bricks. Okay. In perforated bricks, cylindrical, rounded, or rectangular holes are made in the bricks after the molding stage. These holes are called perforation. You can see the holes in the picture. Okay. Next, they are properly spaced from the side of the brick, and their minimum distance is 15 mm. Further, a distance between any two perforation is not less than 10 mm. Okay. The volume of the perforation may be as much as 20 to 50% of the total volume of the bricks. They may be larger in size than ordinary bricks, building bricks, which is a distinct advantage in that work output of a mason will increase considerably with the use of perforated bricks. The major advantages that perforated bricks offer over ordinary bricks are they are light in weight, less quality of clay is required for their manufacture, less time is required for drying and burning of the perforated bricks. These offer better resistance against rain penetration and better insulation against heat. As such, they are ideally suited for tropical countries. Okay. 5 is efflorescence is least in perforated bricks. Efflorescence is least. These are especially suitable for the construction of bricks panels in multi-story structures. Okay. Next, next is hollow brick. Hollow bricks are also called cavity bricks or cellular bricks. They have well-defined state of cavities which specify dimensions made in the body of the bricks. As a result, their net weight may be only one third of to one half of this solid portion. It is important that the thickness of the bricks well near the cavity should not be less than 2 centimeters. Okay. They offer the following advantages over the ordinary types of brick. 1. Being light in weight, they can be handled more conveniently and the output of the mason may be 3 to 4 times compared to the ordinary bricks. They offer better insulation against heat and sound. They are ideal for economical for non-load bearing walls, and that is in particularly in the partition walls. Next is channel or gutter bricks. They are actually special purpose bricks bearing uh, a continuous central semicircular cavity or depression running through their length. Very often they are glazed to make them impervious. They are mostly used in the line of drains. You can see. Next is grading of bricks. Okay, it's you can say last points. Grading of bricks. As per IS 10719557 and 1970 code specifications, bricks with compressive strength not less than 140 kg per centimeter square is grade AA class. Okay. Second is bricks with compressive strength not less than 105 kg per centimeter square, first class brick, grade A. Third is bricks with compressive strength not less than 70 kg per centimeter square, second class brick, grade B. And fourth is bricks with compressive strength not less than the average value 35 kg per centimeter square will class 3 bricks or grade C. Okay, next. The references I used is Building Materials by S.K. Duggal, Building Materials by Rangwala, Building Materials and Construction by B.C. Panmia, and some Wikipedias, you can say mostly, and some web images from uh, website. Okay, thank you. And it's presented by myself, Pritam Roy, and roll number CEN2130003. Thank you all of you.